Hey, the senator from Alabama.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be vitiated.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today to talk about something that, quite frankly, I find to be completely abhorrent, and that is the shortchanging of our nation's military widows when it comes to survivor benefits that they paid for and earned. It's something that I was dismayed to learn about that is happening to some 65,000 surviving spouses, including more than 2,000 Alabamians, of American military service members who were killed in action or died as the result of service-connected causes. After suffering the loss of a loved one, military widows and their families can find themselves unexpectedly losing out on vital survivor benefits that they had planned to receive in these tragic circumstances. That's because under current law, surviving spouses are entitled to receive VA dependency indemnity compensation benefits, or what is known as DIC benefits. But some families go a step further. Like many families in the private sector, many go a step further by voluntarily paying into the Defense Department's Survivors Benefits Plan, which acts like an additional life insurance policy. Now again, they're entitled to the DIC benefits, but they pay for additional coverage should there be a tragic accident or a tragic death, when that acts like a surviving additional life insurance policy. That policy is something these families pay into voluntarily. And like any other life insurance plan you or I might buy, they expect to get the benefits that they paid for. For those who are entitled to receive these benefits from both programs, they are subject to what's been known as the widow's tax. Again, this is only for those folks who are getting benefits from both programs, DIC and the surviving benefits, because our law prohibits widows from receiving their full benefits from both programs. That's the widow's tax. Instead, their SPB annuity is prorated because their DIC payment is subtracted from it. They don't get the full benefit of both programs when one gets subtracted from the other. Simply put, it's really a way for the federal government to save a few bucks by simply ripping off military widows whose families paid extra to receive these additional benefits, voluntarily paid extra to receive these benefits. And this isn't just a problem facing active duty families. It's far bigger, folks, because it impacts anyone who has a service-connected death. To put that in context, in Alabama alone, there are over 60,000 Department of Defense retirees whose families could be impacted by the widow's tax if the veteran were to pass from a service-connected reason. Now, I understand that we've got to be careful stewards of taxpayer dollars. I am fully aware of that. But give me a break when it comes to military spouses and widows. This is a benefit that families paid for out of their own pockets. If they're not getting the money, it begs the question, who is? No surviving spouse should be faced with this kind of unexpected and completely unfair cut to the benefits they ought to be able to count on in these heartbreaking circumstances. No surviving spouse should have to fight for what their families are owed in the wake of a family tragedy, no less. And again, this is what they're owed. This is the things that they have paid for in more ways than one. No surviving spouse should have to mount a massive lobbying effort in the capital of the United States, of this great country, to get folks to understand that this is wrong and we need to fix it. Every year there is a campaign to fix this program, and yet it doesn't get done. Instead, these families should be focusing on helping their families begin to heal and find strength. They should be given the space and time to grieve. It is an absolute shame that this is a problem that we need to address. So that's why I've introduced bipartisan legislation with several of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle Senator Collins, Tester, Crapo, and 31 others to repeal the law that prevents these families from receiving their just due. The Military Widows Tax Elimination Act of 2019 reflects our belief that people who put their lives on the line for our country deserve to know that their families will be taken care of if something, God forbid, ever happens to them. Our bill has support from the Gold Star Wives of America, the VFW, the Military Officers Association of America, the National Military Family Association, the Tragedy Assistance Programs for Survivors, and so many others. In fact, some of the most dedicated activists from the Gold Star Wives are watching today from the gallery right now, including Crystal Weenum, Harriet Boyden, and Donna Eldridge. I want to thank them all for their leadership and for their continued contributions to our country. This legislation has been introduced previous sessions of Congress, but it is yet to pass, in large part because of concerns about the cost. And while, as I said, I certainly understand that there is going to be a cost associated with this, we are talking about a benefits plan that these families paid for on their own accord. It is their money that went into this fund, not money of taxpayers, not money that is appropriated every year. It is their money, and they deserve to get it back. I think we can all agree that ending the widow's tax is the right thing to do for our military families. So why don't we finally get it done in this, the 116th Congress? Let's show our troops and their families that we support them not just in word, but in deed. Let's show these surviving spouses and their children that we stand with them long after their loved ones have made the ultimate sacrifice for this country, and long after we know that they too have made a sacrifice in the name of this country. Let's right this wrong and finally pass the Military Widows Tax Elimination Act. I urge my colleagues to do the right thing. It is never, ever too late to do it. Even though this has been tried before, it is never, ever too late to do the right thing and support this bill. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.